another journal entry, and I'm here to contemplate my thoughts. It's a general system I have. I notice like most of my journal entries are very uninteresting. It's just the bland. Here's my daily stuff. And I figured it might be a good system to help me record my thoughts better. And me uploading on YouTube just keeps me accountable. I figured I might as well journal whatever thoughts I have. It's occurred to me, it's entirely possible I could build my car on a junkyard. I'm not sure. I thought about it. I was like, I may just build my build my car on a junkyard. If worst comes to worst. I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Build my own car, get enough bargains. I'm thinking about it. It's a game of time. It's a long game of time, but that's fine. If I build my car properly. You just wait long enough. It might be more expensive. I don't know. Or if you wait for the dealer, you might be able to pay $5,000. This is one of those deals. You save money for these kinds of deals. That's the way my spending architecture is right now, or schema. I just save money to get those once in a lifetime deals, once every 5 years. You don't. That's called emergency funding. Emergency funding is like where you find those cheap bargains you normally don't find. You have to, otherwise you can't get a car or anything big like that. Or an airplane, actually. Or a limo. You might find a limo on Craigslist. Who knows? That's why you go on the internet. You browse for those once-in-a-lifetime deals. You prepare yourself. Get an airplane. I don't spend on friends, because, like, I'm thinking about these items, and I'm like, these are very big items. Just fly on a plane. You don't really need to be rich. I don't like thinking like this. Because if you have a lot of money, you don't really have to play these games. You don't have to play the game of Go Fish. Go Fish is a very serious game. A lot of people will say, because it's much easier to say, I want whatever employer to just up front just pay $100,000 as opposed to let's wait for like a decade, right? Which I have to play. And I want to pay $5,000 for what used to be a $50,000 item, right? Right? You have to wait until the equipment has enough depreciation costs. And then during that time you're waiting, you're gathering enough intel and knowledge to get maintenance so you can maintain, or what I call an upgrade later on. To upgrade the car or equipment so it has a salvageable value of what's higher than what its original value is. That's kind of the game you have to play all the time when you're doing accounting. It's the accounting game with emergency funding. That is what you do. I normally don't want to play those games. Because if I have money, right, and I'm just rich these days, but let's say Oprah Winfrey, if you have money, you don't have to think about this. You don't have to think about push and pull schemes, right? Pull and puts. I don't know what you call it in financial terms, but you don't have to think about these things because you can just spend money without thinking about it. If you get employed by a big company, you don't have to think about this shit about saving money or finding cheap math. And this is where you find cheap math formulas, right? You have to, once you know math formulas, you can create the basics of a car, right? You just can extract more money from the rich guy and all your you throw money at this and your problems get solved. Now you have to start thinking about it. Can you get a car free? You can get a junkyard free of charge and get stuff. But you gotta do a lot of favors, and I don't know quite yet. Maybe we can start a business that way. I don't know. Start a junkyard bit. Maybe they'll just give me some resources. I help them make money this way. I do some sun free. I don't know. I have to think about these backups. If you're in a corporate job, you don't think about jack shit. He's like, hey, my friend Bill Gates. I put that in quotation marks, of course. There's nothing real about it. People are like that a lot. They just don't like to admit it. You know it's fake news. Hey, boss, that doesn't mean anything. Me, I'm just like, I just need you to help me with something. I don't have any ulterior motive. That's why I want to go to school, because you gotta play the ulterior motive game. Because people won't directly communicate with you, right? You have to face that reality. Yeah, I can do it. I'll do it eventually. If the company gets broken, if they can only pay their employees by having me do this type of stuff. Because you have to play these games all the time if you want to demonstrate value. But the great advantage of a salary job is you don't. You just coast on the assumption that you are doing it without actually doing it. Yeah, people get rejected out of a lot of jobs because a lot of circumstances. That has nothing to do with the fact. And most of the time, I don't think it really has anything to do with the fact that your resume is not done well. I think it has everything to do with the fact that they want you to start your own business. Or the company doesn't have enough money, and they already don't have enough money paying their salaried employees anything. Yeah, a lot of these people are like, well, you need a proof edit. Like, I thought about it, like, I think that's bullshit. That sounds like something my dad would do when he doesn't have money to hire anyone. And he's not even really paying his current employees anything either. It is BS. The only time it's not BS, the proofreading thing, is when you're trying to sell a novel. Even then, it's even a stretch. Because people want to modify the rules of grammar all the time. Ever heard of memes? People just lie a lot. I know that. I didn't really want to be honest about this stuff. Because it's like, well, people aren't happy. People aren't happy to say, well, I don't have money. Some of these billionaires that seem rich have money, but it's conditional. Ever heard of the game of life, Monopoly? So yeah, Bill technically has $0 depending on the circumstances. He has no money in the bank. It depends on what he's spending the money towards. People don't just give you $1 billion overnight, right? Nothing in life works like that. It has never worked like that. And I've understood that for a while now. I didn't want to play those games. I just want to believe. Right? There's less abstraction you're obligated to peel off, right, if you have a college degree, because they just give you an easier assumption, right? Because you are part of that abstraction. So the abstraction doesn't question you, if that makes sense. Or the guy who made it. Now, if you don't have a degree, you got to get a job there, right? You don't go to high school. You got to go play the abstract. Here, let me demonstrate some real work of. Here's what I think how your money is, here's what I think your provisional authority is, right? Let me give you a 50 long page paperwork. Like, you have to actually play these games if you're outside the school system. You have to do more work. Because people assume, like, remember I said this before, people assume you're already doing the work for them. Like, you're going to give them transparent data. I have to provide transparent data. Anyone wants me, right? You don't have to do that if you're in college. That's why I wanted to go. Now I have to be like, well, here's my transparent data. Here's honesty time. Bill has $0 on certain days. Did you know that? Because part of his money is actually decided by his supply chain. And you know, Bill actually shorted some of his wives a while back. It's not just Melinda. So, like, 50% of that $1 billion ain't even his. College grad, you don't have to do jack shit. You'd be like, oh, I just want to be paid to do computer programs. you don't have to do just that. With me, it's like, I know I'm not exactly worth everything because I can't code my way if my life depended on it, but I do know how your $1 billion are distributed. Yeah, I don't have to, I can't do that. I'll be honest about what I am competent in and what I'm incompetent on. I can tell you how I can fix things. Now, here's how you would talk to a job recruiter. Here's what I would have done if I actually want to provide it. Okay, I cannot offer you anything that you're interested in, but what I do want is I'm begging you to give me some sort of stipend to help Bill Gates on something else that he actually needs help in. You don't have to give me money, just give me food. I'm homeless, but I know Bill needs this. Can you vouch for larger food stamps? Don't even ask for the job. Just say, hey, here's how I think Bill spends his money. That's the games I would play. Right now, I'm not doing it right now currently because I've opted for a much more broader idea of just trying to just do art. I haven't really been that desperate for the programming job. That's what you do. Right? You really want to work for Marshall? I don't really have that. I've instead opted for a general business strategy. I mean, I can. I'll just give you a net sales cost ROI sheet of future cash flow. And from there, I work backwards and guess how your $1 billion work. I think most days at this point, Bill has $0. Because his suppliers that control his cash will not allow him to spend it. It's not that simple, you guys. Bill does not simply have $1 billion in the bank. He does, that's true, but he's not allowed to spend it. Now, some days, right, if you feel like there's going to be a sale time, right, he can spend like maybe 10 grand out of that $1 billion. This is how the company of Microsoft retains existence. You got to use your big noggin here. Now, he doesn't truly have $1 billion because it's not like pure cash he can spend at any point in time. Because he still has to reinvest, keep in mind. And then how he reinvests is even predicated and determined by a bunch of these other factors. Like, well, there's the supply chain you currently have, which is already predetermined, right? Because Bill started a club. It's implied his business associates from the club want him to reinvest in a certain manner. You have to get consent from them. You have to keep talking about this. It's a long conversation with the job recruiter, and then Bill sets up a teleconference eventually, right? You don't want to do that for sales anymore. You know what you want to do? You go to school, you go to a job interview, you get a job. You don't have to ask these kind of questions. And you can get those inflated sales numbers that are legitimate once you start these conversations. Probably higher. But you don't want to play those games, honestly. You want to try evading them. That's why you go through the school system. Of course you evade those games. Because then you're like, well, I got obligations. You got to have no work-life balance, right? That's ridiculous, right? And according to the world of the modern college grad. You don't have to play those games. A politician might, but you don't. Because they're not that desperate, right? You just settle for the smaller amount of cash. And the joke is about the inflated sales figures. If the supply chain guy will agree. Now, why do that? Why inflate sales figure? I'll tell you why. Because the U.S. government's the big glue. Right? He controls money. Whoever controls money basically controls the sales figures. Just go talk to them. I don't think it's arranged. And the best part is, you don't have to really, if you do favors for the U.S. government, if you want to play it safe, you don't have to do any talking. They indirectly do the talking for you, so it actually sets the frame of the conversation. I do this a lot. I just do framing now, without even thinking about it. You just frame the negotiation. So your inflated sales, so the CEO talks down your flame for your inflated sales figure, if that's necessary. Your client. People used to do this back then. I don't really want to do it. I may do it to move up. I don't know. I haven't really shown any interest. I'll probably do it for free anyways. I'll only do it if I want to get a car or a new house. Just talk to some rich guys like, here's what I think. How the 100x100 conditions on your money is. Yeah, Bill can spend 100 grand on some days, depending on what a new product launch is coming. And where the Scrum Manager talked to the appropriate supply chain field command, right? And, well, okay, some of his conditions got unlocked. Okay, we're all set. You have to. Otherwise, you can't spend that money. Now, he is allowed to spend that cash within certain restrictions, right? For, like, luxury goods and his house and stuff. Even then, there's some dials you have to make. Are a lot of people like this? Actually, yeah. But not as bad. I think Bill gets discretionary spending of at least 100 to 500 grand out of that billion. And because he divests his or invests his money in a bank that gives him interest back, he has to be careful. Right? Maybe he has a cashback program of like he gets 5% rewards back, right? For every 100 grand he spends. So he has to be really selective. And maybe he gets double back if he invests in some offshore Swedish bank that knows how to play games with the Federal Reserve, right? You don't really know. And if you're outside the school system, you have to ask to prove your worth. Now, if you're in it, you don't have to ask jack shit. You just be like, yeah, here's why I'm competent as a computer programmer for Microsoft. Because I know how to do leak code. I don't have to be honest with you about how I think you spend money. I can be as opaque as I want because of the abstraction of layer that made who Bill Gates was today will not question you, will not determine you as some sort of threat, right?